Hi, this is Kat Chancellor with Stamp Art Connection and StampArtConnection.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I want to show you some cards that I made with the Clever Cats. I'm going to put together some kind of ensembles that I think you're really going to like. They're not hard to do, but they're really going to give you a lot of options because I love this stamp set. It has a lot of options to create some really cool effects and just with some simple stamping techniques. So I'm going to make all three of these cards. I'll show you how to put them together, and so that hopefully you'll get the Clever Cats, or if you don't already have it, you'll find some neat ways to use it. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need a Stamparatus. So let's put our Stamparatus aside, but for each card, I'm going to give you some measurements. For this card, we're going to just need some Whisper White we're going to put aside because we're going to do some stamping and we're going to do some die cutting. So you're going to need a base card of Whisper White, which is 5.5 by 4 1/4. And then you're going to need a piece of pumpkin pie, which is 5 1/4 by 4, and that's going to be your layered. We're then going to cut out using our dies, and then this is my favorite die. You know I've used it so many times. I'm going to grab my die here. And this is from my favorite set, which is a Painted Labels die. So we're going to use this die to go ahead and cut out our little label or little area thing that we're going to put our little cat on. And then we're going to put him up on a wobble. And I have several wobbles that we're going to use. Then you're going to stamp it with Momento Black ink, but we're going to use Versamark, and you need some clear embossing powder, and because we're going to create a kind of a neat effect with how he kind of looks kind of shiny there. You're also going to need a pumpkin pie to stamp the color and some black embossing powder. And I want to tell you that Stampin' Up! Has this really neat set now. You can buy a whole set in the catalog of clear, white, and black. Just really very useful to kind of keep track of all your embossing powders. Okay, so that's this card. The next card is going to be this fun card. I'm using a mini wobble, and I'm using a piece of Whisper White, and this is cut at 5 3 3/4. It's layered on a piece of pumpkin pie that is 5 1/4 by 4, and then it's on a base card of 5.5 by 4 1/4, and that's Whisper White. You're also going to use the stamp set Clever Cats, but we're going to do a neat technique, and I'm using this is a retired embossing folder called Little Details. But what I liked about it is I like this design right here of kind of like the stitches. It looked kind of witchy and kind of scary because we're going to emboss on both sides of our cardstock, then put our little image in the middle and stamp our sentiment, and then we're going to put our little witch's hat up on a wobble. So that's what you're going to need for that cut. Now there's a lot of fussy cutting because a lot of these pieces do not come with dies. Now the last card that we're going to put together is this card, and this was the first card I used the Clever Cats on. Very simple. It's on a piece of pumpkin pie, 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. And then a white piece of Whisper White. And this one is, I believe it is 1 3 3/4 by 3. Okay, and we're going to stamp the little black cat on this one. Okay, I think that takes care of everything. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's bring in our our Stamparatus, and let's go ahead and start with our first cat. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my broom. I'm going to put my broom on a block, and I want to stamp my broom right here, kind of in the middle, where I'm going to have my cat that's going to sit on top of it. But I want to put that image down first. So let me go ahead and ink this up. And I'm going to put it right there. And then I'm going to place my cat right on top. I'm going to put my broom right here, my Stamparatus. And then I'm going to place my cat right on top of my broom. Just like that, how I've got in place. Then I'm going to pick him up with my plate. I'm just going to make sure that I've got this in there. Okay, so now he's in place. I'm just going to ink him up. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit more ink. Okay, so there's my cat. Now, I didn't want to use the embossing powder because I want a really crisp line. So that's why he kind of is, I'm using the ink. But now I'm going to take some of the Versamark and I'm going to use my buddy, because I'm just going to go ahead and take some Versamark and I'm going to put some Versamark on my cat. And now I'm just going to emboss with clear embossing powder. And there it is. It kind of gives it a really nice effect for our cat. And if I forgot any, which I did, I have a blank spot. I like to take my Versamark pen and I'm just going to add some Versamark. Just because I have a little spot that I missed. I want to make sure I get it. I'm just going to grab a piece of Whisper White. So I'm going to put this cat back. Now I want this cat. I want the cat that is going in the box. And I'm just going to pick that one up. We're going to do the same thing. It comes out very clear, but then you have that nice edge. Okay. The next one we're going to do is we're going to do the hat and we're going to do the pumpkin. So let me grab another piece of Whisper White. And I'm going to put the hat right here. And we're going to put the pumpkin right there. Trying to save paper. And let's pick it up. Okay, and now we have, look at that. Isn't that nice? All right. So the next thing we have to do is I'm going to clean off my stamps. I'm going to be very careful about cutting this right over here. Because what I want to do with this pumpkin is I'm going to take this itty bitty little cat face. We're going to put it on one of these little blocks. I'm going to get my Versamark and I'm going to do this little cat face is going to be, I'm going to make sure I get a stamping piercing mat here. This little cat face, it's nice and inked up, and it's going to go, make sure I get that. It's going to go right on top of our pumpkin. See how I put my little, there's my little cat. It's right on top of my pumpkin. So now I'm just going to go ahead and put that aside. So I have the hat, and these are some colors that I picked up on Amazon. Now, if I had my stamping blends, I would be using my stamping blends right now. But we're moving. I'm staying at my mother's house, so I have very limited stamping supplies. But for about $30, I was able to buy a set of colors. They're called Ohunu art markers, just because I wanted to have some alcohol markers to do some blending. They're not exactly the same color. But as you can see, you know, they work pretty well. If I were using my stamping blends, I'd probably be using my pumpkin pie light and dark right now. Then I have this lemon yellow, and I'm just going to take this lemon yellow and I'm just going to do his eyes like that. Okay. And there is my pumpkin, and I'm going to cut him out because he is going to go mounted. Okay, so there's our cat. Now our cat is going to go on a piece of Whisper White that we're going to cut. So I'm going to bring in that blank. So my cat is going to go right there, and we're going to have to die cut something. So let's put him aside. Now he's got to have the yellow eyes. I'm going to do his eyes yellow right there. And we are going to grab this set here, and I'm going to put in a little spider. So we're going to grab the spider, and the spider is going to go right there. Okay. And then he's got there's a little bunch of dots in this set. These dots right here. Okay, that is what your spider's coming down on. So there it is. Now in here, I have a very light gray, and I am just going to kind of go underneath my broom with this light gray. I'm going to go underneath my spider, and I'm going to go around my cat. And all this does is it just kind of sets him, kind of pops him off a little bit. Now my spider's eyes, I'm going to do in this lavender color right here. There you go. Now I have it's Halloween, which is going to go on this little block right here. And it's going to go right below my cat. So let me grab my pumpkin pie. I'm going to have to restamp that because I got ink all over my block. So I just want to kind of just very carefully. There it is. It's Halloween. Now to finish this off, we're going to take our scoreboard. Is I like to finish off the edge by just simply going down kind of around the edge of my paper like this. And it really gives it just a really nice professional touch. Doesn't that look nice? See how that kind of came out like that? Okay, so he's done, and he's going to go on that piece. Now, the next one that we're going to finish is going to be this guy. And what we're going to do is I'm going to grab my die. I have a die here. And I'm going to grab my mini die cut machine and bring it in. And let's pull that out. So this guy is going to go on this piece, and he's going to go on here. Okay. Yeah. But we're going to do the same thing that we did. We're going to, I'm going to finish this by using my scoreboard all the way around, because I like a nice pretty edge around my layer, especially if I'm doing it kind of plain. Okay, I'm doing it kind of plain. Kind of like to have a nice edge. Now, since this is going here like this, we're going to put it up on a wobble. We're going to put a sentiment right here. Okay, this one I am going to use black embossing powder right here. Okay, I'm going to put that one right there. I'm going to put this where I want it. So this is going to go right there. That's where my sentiment's going to go. All right. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that pretty? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop him up on a dimensional. And I have some nice black dimensionals right here. I'm going to pop him up on a dimensional on my white label. And I'm going to put him right there. Now I have a large, and the way these work is that the smooth, you got two sides. The smooth side goes towards the paper that you're going to, like the smaller piece. So that's where your smooth side goes, right there. And you want to make sure that you adhere that rather well. And then this side, you pick up this paper here. This side is going to go on this piece. And again, you just make sure you adhere that one well. And there you go. There's your wobble. So now that is going to go nicely on this piece. And there you go. So there's our first card. All right. So now let's go and finish up this guy here. We're going to take this card right here with some pumpkin pie. And I am going to mask off this end. Okay, I'm going to mask off this end, and I'm going to bring in just a cover so I can stamp. And I'm just going to go, and we're going to stamp, stamp. Okay, so we just kind of, just kind of randomly stamp some of the brooms. There we go. There's our card. I'm going to grab my phone folder here and just kind of flip this around and just make sure that's nice and creased. And then this is going to go right there. It's going to go right on our card. To add a little interest to this one is we can go ahead and we're going to take a piece of ribbon and we're going to tie it right here. And then I'm going to grab these are my ribbon cutting shears. I'm just going to go ahead. And there you go. Isn't that cute? And there's that card. Now our last card is this one here. And this card we're going to begin with, and this is the layered card. We're going to put our layers aside, and we're going to put our little hat aside and our little cat aside, and I'm going to bring in my my embossing folder. So I just want to emboss. I'm going to turn it this way. I just want to emboss kind of like up to the zigzag. Okay, I'm going to line it up like that. And that is about, it's about 1.25 inches. Let me run this through the embossing folder. Okay, so that's done. Now, we're going to, I'm just going to place my pumpkin right there. And I have a stamp with a funky tail. And that's this, remember, not this cat. It's this cat right here. Okay, so I'm going to take his tail and I'm going to turn it upside down. And I'm going to stamp it right. He's going to go right here. My hat's going to go right there, right? So I want my tail, and I can mark this lightly. I can mark this very lightly with a pencil. I want my tail. We're going to put the hat up here because we're going to put a sentiment right down here. So let's do the sentiment first. We're just going to stamp this in birthmark. Memento. And I'm just going to put that right there. There it is. Okay. So I've got my sentiment, and what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to bound where I'm putting his tail. Okay. So I'm going to have the hat here, this here, and then I want his tail to come down right about there. Okay, him, hat, and then I want a tail right about there. So I'm just going to put a little mark right here because that's where I want to stamp. I want to stamp that tail right there. Okay. So I'm also going to grab a Post-it. I'm going to put that Post-it right there. Okay. Well, see, I can do it like that. Yeah, that's how I can do it. I'm thinking out loud as I'm making this, but you understand. Okay. So we're just going to ink that tail up. And we're going to put that tail right there. Okay. Inked it up. Put the Post-it note down. I'm going to put the tail right there. There it is. There's my tail. Now, if I want to fill in my tail a little bit, right? If it didn't exactly go, I can always grab a black marker. Always grab a black marker and kind of fill it in. Okay, and then I do want to use my gray marker because I do want my tail to kind of look like it's a little 3D. Then I'm going to pop this guy up right there. You see how now that looks like the little cat's looking? And again, if that black doesn't look exactly like the same black, you know, just throw some black. Okay, now look at that. Isn't that cute? Now we're going to take this thing and we're going to grab some dimensionals. Okay, so now this goes right there. Isn't that cute? Okay. Then I'm going to take my little witch's hat. And my little witch's hat is going to go on a mini dimensional, my mini wobbles here. I have these itty bitty little wobbles. Now, let me move in so you can see what I'm going to do with this wobble. All right, so there's our card. We're going to put this wobble right here. And this wobble doesn't exactly fit. I'm going to have to trim it, but I'm going to put it more so I have more to trim on this side because it's easier to trim than in that little corner. All right, and I can kind of figure we'll do it the long ways because I want to get as much wobble real estate as I can on this hat. All right, so let's go ahead and let's pull off this paper. And remember, the flat side paper goes on the card that's going to wobble. So just trying to get this, and I'm going to just kind of slide it right like that. And I've got some extra over here that I'm going to trim. But that's easy to trim on this side of my hat. Not so easy to trim because I've got a little, see that? Look how easy that was. Very easy to trim. Last time I centered it and then I had to try to go trim in there and it was just a mess. Didn't want to do that again. Okay, so there is our little hat that's going to go on our card. So now I'm going to pull this off and I'm going to affix this. I'm going to fix this right there. There it is. And you really have to press and make sure that thing's on there. And there's your little wobble. So now I can go ahead and I can put this on my card. Again, I'm going to use tear tape. One of the reasons why I use 2 strips of tear tape is because I do have some embossed surface there, and I just want to make sure I capture everything. There we go. I could probably just use some glue now. And glue that. And there we go. So look at what we've done. We've made 3 cards using our Clever Cats stamp set. And I did them all differently than what I had originally done. I primarily, the biggest difference, besides was that I used my Stamparatus so that I could emboss over the image, because the black Momento ink will give you the crispest image that you could possibly get. And see, and here, this one's just plain black Momento ink. I went ahead, I embossed over it in clear, and it just makes that black pop. Again, with this one, I did the same thing. Okay, isn't that pretty? And then this one is my favorite because I have a little cat that's hiding underneath this witch's hat. And in this one, I kind of moved the hat up a little bit so you could see, but his little tail is coming down there, and it says, my tail says it's the twitching hour. So I hope that you have enjoyed learning some techniques and how to have fun with the Clever Cats stamp set. It's very simple stamping. It's just a little bit of using, layering a little bit of embossing, using your dies and embossing folders, and you can come up with some very clever little cards. Thank you so much for joining me, and please like and share my videos. This is Kat Chancellor from Stamp Art Connection and stampartconnection.com. Happy stamping. There he is. You kind of see? Isn't he cute? Okay. So now that I've got that part done,